Hey guys, and welcome to a video I've been meaning to make for a while now. It's for a game called Sudeki, my favourite game of all time. And as you know, you guys have probably noticed I have not had a Sudeki Sunday video out in a few weeks. That's due to work and stuff. So I thought, in my off time, I'll write a script and make a review of the game. Now, please note, for anyone who watches my content, you know that I do not do reviews on games. This is going to be my very first review of a game, and I've never written a script before, wrote a script before, and I just want you guys to take it with a grain of salt, basically. But this, if you guys are not interested in the introduction of this, it's just going to go over an explanation of who I am as a player, why I like Sudeki so much, and my part in the community. I'll be a very small one, but one that I like to keep. You know, it's a very small community, but I like to keep like a constant flow of content for this game, even though it doesn't get updates, obviously, and it's like over 20 years old. But yeah, if you guys want to skip to the review, feel free to go ahead. This is just an insight of me as a person, and my personality and stuff, and why I love this game so much. That's why this is relevant for the introduction. This is off script. I've not wrote any of this that I'm saying right now. So yeah, basically, my name's Full Game Phantom, or the Full Game Phantom, whatever, Phantom, whatever you want to say. And I played Sudeki for, well, ever since I was a young kid, actually, around about 11 or 12. Yeah, I have very fond memories of it. Sound cues of the games, like the chests opening, the door noises when they're locked, you know, when you press the door and it's locked and it makes a noise. All that stuff prevalent in my mind. And then when I found out this was on Steam in 2014, well, not in 2014, but when I got my PC in 2018, I saw this game. I was like, damn, I'm gonna start playing this more. So basically, as a content creator, every Sunday, well, I try to, but because of work, you know, it sucks. I can't really do it every Sunday because I'm constantly working every Sunday. I make content on this game where I do challenge runs, 100% of the game, modded runs, you know. This is not like gameplay mods, this is more of a visual mods. And then we got like 100% of the original Xbox, which hasn't been done on YouTube before. And then we've got like, you know, level one run with like level 1 characters using their orbs, level 1 weapons only. And then I've done like a started a story / lore run. And also, it's not a very big boast or anything. I'm not even boasting about it, to be fair, because it's de facto regardless. Is I am the world record holder for this game, 100% world record holder. The only person who runs it is me. So I'm not like, wow, it's such a massive achievement or anything. But I do run this game as well if you're interested in speedruns, albeit I don't do it often, because it's just a long one. A glitchless, that is. I do want to learn the glitched one. It'd be a lot more interesting than the 100% glitchless. So yeah, feel free to check it out. And if you like the game so much and you want to like learn it, glitchless speedrun is pretty damn simple. All you gotta do is remember where things are. So yeah, I thought I'd do a little bit of an introduction of who I am as a person and why this game means so much to me. I mean, it's always been my favourite game of all time, regardless of its glaring problems, which is like potholes and whatever. I'd also like to make a massive note, this is not a story review of the game. I will be mentioning little tad bits of story and little tad bits of each character's personality, motives, and why they're doing what they're doing. This is more of a gameplay / exploration / world building / you know, music, everything to do with the actual game that isn't the story. That's what I'll be covering in this review. And if I get anything wrong, I do apologise. Please pop a comment in the comments and I'll, you know, I'll say, okay, I got that wrong. I'm always here to learn more. I do know this game like the back of my hand, but obviously when it comes to lore, sometimes I get confused as well. Because it's not it's very straightforward. It's convoluted in its own way. There's like the potholes and like, you know, there's different names for things, like there's a Lumina, Bright Empire, then there's a Gloria, Haskilia. You know, Three of those are literally the same thing, basically. Illumina, Bright Empire, and Haskilia, basically pretty much the same thing in most respects. I mean, obviously, the Bright Empire is obviously controlled by the Queen, which is Haskilia, which is the world, which is also Illumina, because that's also the name of the world as well. Unless Illumina is a castle. I don't know. That's why I'm getting confused. Anyway, I'm going too far into it. I'll start the review now, and hopefully you guys enjoy. 2004 was the release date of a game that holds a very, very special place in my heart, and as you can tell by the title and my introduction, that game is called Sudeki. Sudeki is a game that was made by a company called Climax Studios, which planned the creation of this game way back in 1999. Though quite a confusing path was ahead of the creation of Sudeki, as it went from an original Dreamcast project called Symphony of Light, to then switching its development to the PlayStation 2 in early 2000. But then it changed its platform again later in 2000 to the Xbox original. This was because Microsoft manager at the time, Peter Connolly, saw it as an opportunity to deliver a great RPG to the world, as he thought the JRPGs at the time were failing to deliver. Even though the original concept title of the game was called Symphony of Light in 1999, under Microsoft's development they renamed it to Sudeki. But because of confusion during communication, the final name ended up becoming Sudeki. The game was later ported to Steam in 2014, which is the platform this review is played on. So if anyone wondering, you're probably like, what the hell even is Sudeki? I've never seen this game before. Like, what the hell is it? I mean, I don't blame you, honestly. This game is like very, very niche and has a very small, passionate community, and very few people remember it. But this game is basically an action RPG, much like a JRPG, but it isn't. This was like Microsoft's like counter JRPG. They're trying to make an RPG that isn't a Japanese RPG to try and compete in that market. Though it didn't do that well in terms of sales, it still holds its charm, and I love this game so much when it comes to like its art style and like, I don't know, like the music as well is so magical. We'll go over all that later on. But let's give you a base groundwork of what Sudeki is. So Sudeki is a game where you play as 4 characters that all have their own abilities, moves, dialogue, stories, and motives. The whole plot is centered around basically these 4 characters collect crystals to charge a tower that's going to defend the whole world, or like the Bright Empire, for the Queen Lucica, that being. The main reason is because these towers were meant to defend from enemies called Lightspawn and any other imposing threats that the Queen, you know, thought was gonna take over like the world and stuff. But as the story progresses, we realise a true motive of the creation of this tower. I would like to note I'm not going to be doing any spoilers. This is a spoiler-free video. I may be mentioning a bit of lore and stuff, but I do not want to go too deep into like the whole story. But anyway, these 4 characters you'll be playing as, one is called Buki. She's I think they call it an anthropomorph, which is basically like a funny word for like an animal / humanoid. So she's basically a cat lady. She's very traditional. She values her traditions over anything else. She values her tribe highly, but she's very skeptic on helping a character called Elco, which I'll introduce soon, in retrieving the crystal. This is because she believes that crystal to be sacred, and it isn't meant to be moved from the chambers of Shidanimo, or the temple. She's very blunt, but as the story progresses, she starts to care more about the party, and she starts to care more about the objective. But I think that's mainly because of a character called Tetsu, which is basically God in this universe. Because she's so inclined with spirituality and gods, she's probably the most connected to that due to her background. That is why she starts to care more as she realizes the gods intended this to happen, or Tetsu intended this to happen. Basically, her fighting style is she's basically female Wolverine. She has these claws. They're literally like I don't know how to explain it. They're like these traditional claw things. I'll pop a screen up. I don't really know the name other than to say claws. Basically, they offer a range of attacks, and because she is a third-person fighter, or like you use third person to use her, she uses combos, which I'll be covering in the combat section later on. And that's her entire gimmick, basically. Her and Tal just basically use combos to kill enemies. She has abilities too, but she mainly uses her melee weapons. Now, if you want to call these special abilities, I don't know what else to call them, I guess like trait or something. But her special ability is that she can climb walls that are marked as climbable. I'll bring up a video up now for you. She basically can claw walls, climb up them, climb down them. That is her special ability. Conversation.
What do we get for our trouble and strife?
Next up, we have someone who's called Elco. He's the scientist, he's the guy who's making this crystal tower for the queen. Obviously, like I said, this tower is meant to protect the Bright Empire for the queen. He's most devoted in getting these crystals, as he lives and breathes his work. He basically just gloats about his work all the time. He's like always trying to think of ways to improve his like tower, and it's very scientific, it's very calculated, and it's very skeptic of anything that can't be explained by science. Much like, you know, Tetsu, he's very hard to like convince if it's real or not, you know, the gods and stuff. And now Elco, he's the most obligated to get these crystals. The reason being is because Queen Lucica gave him a new arm. He basically had an accident, and the Queen paid and requested a new arm for Elco, and now he's feeling like devoted towards the cause because she helped him. And I think that may have been like a move from Queen Lucica. She knew what she was doing. She knew Elco could do it and get the, you know, make the crystal tower and stuff. His fighting style is basically ranged, and he uses like these scientific guns. One of them is so bloody broken that it literally ruins the meta of the game, and is used in speedruns I play, and is used by the meta players. And I wouldn't say this game really has an established meta because very few people play it, but I'd say if you want to play the game the most optimally, I'll show you later on what I mean by his like gun being the most OP thing in the game. I'll talk all about that in combat later on. His special ability is that he can use his jetpack that he has on his back. Basically, he stands near this crystal, which I'll show on screen now, and he can fly around gaps. And it offers a little speed boost as well. It's quicker than walking, so sometimes you can like charge his jetpack and use that to move instead of like walking around. Very few instances you can do this in the game, but that is, I would say, his special ability.
What in the heavens is this?
Next up, we have my personal favourite character. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know I name all my characters Tal, or Tal Arlo, because Tal doesn't really have a second name. So I name my characters Tal Arlo because his father's called Arlo, and because he's my favourite character, that's why I name my characters in games. Basically, he is an easygoing soldier who's always forgetting like training and stuff, or like oversleeps. He's careless, but he cares a lot about people and like his party, and he prioritizes people over his objective. Basically, he had a troubled childhood as well, with his brother being murdered, and it just gives his father Arlo like he's like a punching bag from his father. Basically, he just blames Tal all the time for his other son being murdered, and it makes that relationship very rocky, but it does get resolved. Question mark? I said no spoilers, but sorry. He's the one who cares about people the most, because basically when later on in the game something happens, two specific people get kidnapped, and Tal's more concerned about their safety than the actual overall objective, which was to get the crystal. Whereas another person, which I won't mention because I don't want to spoil it, is more concerned about the crystal than the two people who got kidnapped. That is what makes Tal probably like the glue of the actual group, I believe anyway. He's very easygoing, he's very chill, I suppose. So I reckon he's the most neutral in getting the crystals back. I don't think he really like you know, he cares about the objective of making the Empire safer, but he doesn't really care too much to do it. If he was asked by the Queen by himself, I think he wouldn't do it. I think like he'd only do it if it was to help a group. That's why he's like he follows Elco around like as a personal escort towards Shidanimo. So that's why I think that's his role. I believe, in my opinion, of the story. His fighting style is basically like Buki's, but with a sword. They both have different animations, but some things are similar, which I'll go over in the combat section, in terms of combos anyway. Like like the way the combos are set up, they are very similar in how they play. His special ability, I don't know if I call these special abilities or not, but whatever. You can basically just move these heavy objects around, which I'll show on the screen now. Pulls it out, you can push them around and whatever. But that's basically Tal in a nutshell. Now, last but not least is Ailish. Ailish is the daughter of Queen Lucica. I reckon she's very playful. She doesn't really care too much about consequences. She has a very rebellious streak and gets very bored easily. So when she was told by the Queen to stay in the castle, she ignored the Queen's orders and just basically decided to help the group out get other crystals. So she's more of the, you know, what's the word, like she's royalty, she's like, but she doesn't care, she's very bratty I guess you could say, but she's not like a pushover by any means, because she, unlike her being like, because you'll be able to tell by her health pool, she's very like weak in terms of like sustainability of keeping alive, but she has a range of strong abilities. One, like some can res, or like one of them can res like companions if they die, boost their speed and stuff. And her entire playstyle is just basically like Elco's, first person shooting, though most of her weapons are kind of trash in my opinion. But I'll go over all that in the combat section. It's just a small snippet of each of the characters and who you'll be like playing with. Her special ability is that she can dispel objects. There'll be like this little glowy, they're not like fireflies, but like little gold dust in front of like objects that are see-through-ish. And then she can like dispel them, and then it just makes them either go away or brings them into full focus. I'll show you that right now for you. Now guys, when you first load up a game, that is the start of your impression of what you feel about the game. Now I'll give you something, I'll show you on screen now. This is the most unique thing I think I've seen from any game really. I mean, there probably is other stuff, but the opening narration with Tom Baker and the puppeteer, like the puppets and stuff, to narrate the story of the game is an absolute classic. Now I'll let it play for you now.
At first, the
But
brothers celebrated
this
and shared
is
their world in
something
faith,
I have not seen
but
before,
then the dawn
and
grew
it
cold.
sticks in my memory.
Love was laid
So enjoy
to
it, guys,
waste.
and I'll be
The
back
dark
with you
gave
in a
swing
second.
to the selfish twin, and he banished out his brother. Now weakening, the good twin fled in search of help from others. Of animal men, one wise and fair, his tribe they turned to flee, while human beings hid their feelings, save the heroic three. 'Twas separation brought us here. How selfish was my wish. So unity will be our new goal. We fight, the angel hissed. They fought the beast so powerful and forced him to give in. Then, as battle silenced, a rage came o'er the twin. The world was torn asunder, the subjects split in two. Unable to reach the afterlife, death drifted in the gloom. And then the magic ceased. Silence took control. An age 1,000 years would pass before these kin would toil. And of the four who bravely fought, their fate was not to end. For time would tell to save from hell we will need these friends again. Now is the hour that my brother waits.
Then following up that awesome narration from Tom Baker and the actual puppets, you get probably my most nostalgic, memorable music in gaming, for me personally. You might have other like soundtracks and whatever that engrave in your mind, but after the narration's over and this music starts playing, I just get goosebumps every single time. And with the title screen and like the glowy background, it's just so great. Hey guys, and welcome to the combat section slash menu section slash UI section of the review. This part is unscripted, but this is going to be very in-depth, so expect this section to be around 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a bit longer. This is an in-depth review because this game deserves it, and it's done so much for me for my entire life, pretty much. So, first of all, we'll go over the menu. The UI is great in this game. You can tell what you're looking at. Like, if you were to look at this symbol, you know before you even go over it what it is and like what they are. So basically, we'll start off with weapons. So I won't be telling you where these weapons spawn or where they come from, but what I can tell you is that, because it's spoiler free, these weapons are either bought, found in chests, or from a specific thing called totems. I'll cover all that in the side quest section. But I'll tell you the guns that each character starts with and the pros and cons of both. So, Elco, as you can see, has a range selective of scientific pistols that have their own sort of unique traits, and they all kind of do different things. Some are just like the same as another weapon in the game. So, for instance, a proton phaser is just basically a plasma launcher, but worse. So, start off with these two weapons: a proton phaser and a phaser ion fluxinator. Sorry, I skipped over my words a bit then. These weapons are decent early game. I mean, the proton phaser is decent early game. Ion fluxinator, however, which I'll show in combat, don't worry, I'll show these two weapons in combat, and might show the others. The ion fluxinator is Elco's best weapon, hands down. This is because this weapon is a piercing weapon, so if you were to shoot an enemy and there's a row of enemies behind them, it will hit every single one. And it has like an AoE spread on it too, so it hits more than you think it's going to hit sometimes, and it does so much damage. As you can tell in the bottom right, there's a stat section: strength and critical and fire rate. Strength is how much damage it's going to do. Critical is the chance of a critical shot or critical hit landing, and the fire rate is just telling you how fast it's going to recharge from its first shot. Sometimes weapons don't need charging, like the proton phaser. You can just keep on spamming it and they never run out of charge. Ion fluxinator is like a one-shot hand cannon. You shoot it, then it recharges for like 3 seconds, and then it comes back up. The reason why this weapon is so broken is because if you pair it with... I'm going to do each character's like specific builds and what makes them really good, and stuff that they aren't so good at. Is in the advancements section, this is also the level up section, I'll cover this in a second. There's a ability called nano enhancement. Basically, when you use this, all your party members will do double damage. So think of it like this: you got a hand cannon that pierces and can hit multiple enemies at once, and you can do double damage with it. Not only that, if you get these things called power orbs, I'll put a picture up on screen for you. They're these black orbs, and if you invest them into Elco, you'll pretty much one-shot anything in the game. Now this is endgame, as you can see I'm level 24. This is the only save I have from before, because I delete my saves often, because if you have more saves, the load times are slower. Which is another thing about this game, it does bad, is the more saves you have, the slower the load times are. So this is the only chance I can actually show you guys live of the weapons. So, let's go over Tal's starting weapons. Tal starts off with the recruit sword, He doesn't start off with 2, he just starts off with this. The weapon is pretty bad, but it's decent early game. Now, what I recommend is for any new players, at the start of the game, there's a blacksmith. I will show you like the actual recording of the blacksmith for you in the actual castle. But at the start of the game, you will want to do this. If you want to do meta play, you want to come to the blacksmith. Say I would like some work done. Then you want to go to Tal, which is the only character you'll be using, and you want to put 2 razor edge runes on the recruit sword. Probably wondering why would you do this? The reason being is because with this weapon now, early game, your strength is 25, which is really, really strong early game, and you get 10% crit chance. This is really strong because Mojo, which is a weapon that you don't get until you do the beach section, which is very early in the game. It's not really a spoiler because you actually see the chest spawn. There's no like hidden thing. As soon as you do the beach for the first time, the Mojo spawns. And as you can see, like Mojo would be 25 strength, because if you take both the razor edge runes off, it's 5 damage per razor edge rune, or 5 strength, so I'll put it at 25 strength. Recruit sword is 25 strength and 10% critical, so you're giving yourself 5% extra critical chance as well, and it helps you kill enemies early game quicker because you have more strength. So this is better than Mojo at the start of the game, but then when you go to Bright War, you can just upgrade Mojo with 2 razor edge runes, and it's just better than the recruit sword, because the critical chance is pretty low anyway, so more strength is better. That's the thing in this game, you can like choose, like there's no set way of what you want to do, like, or what you should do, so you could like put other things on your weapons, which I'll cover in like the blacksmith section. Or should I do the blacksmith section now? I'll do the blacksmith section in the exploration section of the review. So basically, there's no set way of what you want to do in this game. You can mess around with weapons. There's no like, oh my god, you're doing this, that's so bad. Try things, and yeah, I'm just saying, as a speedrunner, double razor edge rune at the start of the game is the most important thing you can do at the start, and the only way you can do this is if you sell a few potions as well to KMO. So you need at least 500 gold, because they both cost 250 for each razor edge rune. Next up we have Ailish. She starts with the Royal Scepter and the Zurich Staff, Shock Staff. Royal Scepter is basically the same as Elco's Proton Phaser. It's just a rapid fire staff, shoots really quickly, has no charge. It has a charge, but it never runs out basically. And yeah, it's pretty bad. It does really low damage, as you can tell, 16 strength, 5% critical. And you'll probably not use this much past the early game. Zurich's Shock Staff. This weapon is decent, it's AoE, it's like a shotgun essentially. You need to be up and close and personal for this. And with Ailish's health pool, it's kind of hard to do that. But you can like run around quite easily and avoid hits, so it's not that bad. That's all I can really say about Ailish's. There's no real tech behind her weapons, they're all pretty bad. The only real good weapon is his Stanica. And, where is it? Wizardwood Stave. Wizardwood Stave is literally a knockoff version of Elco's Ion Fluxinator. You know, the hand cannon I was talking about? It's basically that, but worse. For some reason it's worse. Even though it has more strength, it is worse. For some reason. I'm not sure why. I guess it's because you put power orbs into Elco, but even then you still do more damage with Elco's Ion Fluxinator. I don't know how it works. Then with Buki, you start with her Calamarca. These are literally Wolverine's claws. Literally like the recruit sword, basically. They're okay. It is literally the recruit sword, but in claws, but with 5% extra critical. They're alright weapons. Nothing really you can really say about it, honestly. So they're the starting weapons of each character. So now that's out of the way, we'll talk about each of the sections of the UI. So in Sudeki you have numerous sections, as you can tell. One of them is being armor. Armor doesn't really do anything, it just gives you details of what the armor is. Like, it gives you like a rundown of what it is. Mail from the scales of the great coelacanth fish, like liquid metal. You'll never see this fish in the game, by the way. Sorry for spoilers. But I'm just gonna say you never see this, so it's kind of like pointless to mention because you don't actually see it. So there's not as much of a connection there with the player because you're like, what the hell is that? You've never heard of that, and it's not even present in the game at any point. Each character has their own like armor, like backgrounds. As you can see, you can read them if you want, but basically, as you progress through the game, you get better armor. You can't buy it or anything; it's automatically given to you by a specific character. I'll just say who it is. It's Tetsu. Every time you visit, you get better armor. Essentially, there's no like buying it. It's just you get given it, and you can't change between armor types either. Now, I would like to note there's one important thing. Is that when you are like upgrading your armor, you see this rune, the heart, the combat boost rune there. If I was to put that on my level 1 armor I start the game with, that rune will carry over to the next armor, so you don't have to reapply it. Next we have Monster Compendium. Now this is really, really cool. Every time you kill an enemy, it comes up in the Monster Compendium, which gives you tactics of how to beat said character. As you can see, a Clawing Warrior, tips, use range attacks because they're melee. You got these guys, Grotesques, immune to poison and stun status effects, able to boost their power to do double damage, avoid them when they're about to die, they self-destruct and cause damage. So it's just basically, it gives you like a little like look at the characters closer, I suppose, the art style of them. Cool art, by the way. The art style of this game is great. And yeah, it's just a cool thing to have. I rarely ever use this, to be fair. I mean, it could be useful for a first-time player, and it's really cool to have. So, props to you, Climax, for adding this. Don't use it ever, but it's very useful for people who want to learn a game. Next up, we have the quest log, which just shows you quests. Simple as that. It'll have one main quest, and all the rest will be side quests. As you can see, collect Eden Coral is a side quest. It doesn't tell you it's a side quest, but it is. And defeat Haigu is a main quest. Then we have options. Now, the very cool thing about the options section in this game is, even though it was a 2000... I'm not sure if other games did this, by the way, but for a 2004 release, it's really cool they added like this effect. Like, as you go down with the music volume, it tells you how loud it's going to be. Right, so that's a really cool thing about this. Same for the sound effect. So you know how loud it's going to be. Very cool feature. Speech volume, you won't really know about the volume of that. It didn't add it, so you just have to play around with that when you got it. Text speed, normal and fast. Basically, they just, when you're like talking, it shows you how quick this. When a text pops up on the screen, it shows, oh, this is going really fast, or this is going really like slow. Well, not slow, but normal speed. There is no slow section of this. Damage numbers. Basically, when you do damage, numbers pop up on the screen, tell you how much damage you're taking and how much damage you're dealing. Navigation map. Navigation is the map in the top left corner there, the little circle icon. It turns that off and on. First person view. Basically, when you're in first person with characters, you can choose to invert it, so up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. First person Y-axis auto targeting basically helps the players target better with attacks, and that's it really. And mouse sensitivity, you all know what that is. World maps. Cool feature, but utterly useless. This game's world map section is pointless. It's not pointless, it does have some merit, but you will never ever need to use this, because the game, I'll go over this in the exploration section of the review, the game is very linear. There's obviously little teleports you can do around the map, but when you are going somewhere, it's a straight line. There's no other way to that place. There's no side road. That is the same for every single location, by the way. Like, for instance, if I was to go to Shidani Mo, there's only one road to Shidani Mo. You see on the map, though, it gives you these icons which tell you, if you like really don't know where things are, you can use this. The only useful thing I'd say is it tells you where like a shop is, and it'll tell you where like an inn is. An inn is essentially a place where you can heal. I'll show you all that in the exploration section of the video. It shows you where the blacksmith is, which is the hammer and the anvil there, and it shows you where Kano shop is, which is the duck. It gives you also a little tidbit of lore on the left hand side, explaining about the place, which is nice, but most of the time you can just play the game without ever using this, because it is literally, this game is not convoluted in terms of exploration, very linear. As you can tell by the map straight away, there's like those squiggly roads. There's only one road for each section. Like New Brightwater, you see the road that's coming into the Brightwater? Follow that back, it's just one road. Same with Shidani Mo. Illumina Countryside, all the roads are like one way. There's a little like T section at some point. Where's Transcentia? There's a section that I'll show in the exploration part of the video where you can like choose a road to go to. One leads to New Brightwater, one leads to Shidanimo, one leads to Transcentia. All that will be covered in the exploration part of the video. This is what this game does bad. The map is very useless, I'd say personally. Valuables. These are basically, when you kill something, an item drops, and sometimes those items are like mob drops, like Arcanite Skulls, Brightwater Pills, things you can sell and things you need for quests. Scrolls. You get these scrolls from beating bosses. You start the game with a few of them, I think it's like 4. Soul Seeker, no, not Soul Seeker. Oh wait. I don't think these scrolls you get from just beating bosses. Some you start with, some you don't. Valuables, these are just basic quest items. When you collect like a quest item for a specific quest, it is put here. Gives you a little bit of lore behind it. I won't even speak English again now. Gives you lore behind it. And that's it really. You never really need to come here. You never need to ever open this menu for the quest items. But it just tells you what you have. Next up is a thing called advancements, which I need to do combat for first. But basically, when you level up, you are given pips. These pips are used to spec into different sections of the character. When I level up and show combat, I will show you what these pips are. So I'll cover that when that is relevant. Items, basically consumables. You can choose to put them in your 4 slots like hotkeys. Like if I want the Emerald Panacea to be in the 1 key, I just click 1 and it goes there. If I want the Royal Potion to be in the 2nd slot, I'll press 2 and it goes to there. You can also use the menu up here. If you tap Q on PC or whatever you have, you can also access the items from here too. So, and you can switch weapons and the like. This is like a sub-menu mainly for combat. So you got Q for the smaller menu, which just shows combat stuff, and like the odd options menu. And then you got the M, which is the main menu here, which shows the character and stuff like that. You'll probably notice, what is this? AI settings. I didn't know about this for the longest time. I only found out about this last year because I rarely ever open the Q menu and scroll around. I mainly just use it for like skills. Basically, if you click on your specific character here, Elco, Tal, Ailish, or Buki, you can give it an option. These options are attack, defend, and retreat. Basically, attack makes them really aggressive. They attack anything in their sight that is close to them. Defend, they sit back a bit and wait for enemies to attack them, and then they like try and attack back. And retreat is, they don't do anything, they just run away. This was relevant when I did my Sudeki no damage run. I just put every character on retreat and just played through the game like that. So, let's get to combat, shall we? Okay guys, let's cover the combat section of Sudeki. And I'm doing this live commentary, by the way. It's a lot easier for me. So, at the start of the fight, you'll notice my character has a red heart above his head. That is because of a specific thing called the combat boost scroll. I think this is the perfect time just to cut over past me and explain the stats effects in this game. There are some positive and some negative. Let's start off with some positive effects. So this little blue teardrop, I like to call it, always reminds me of like a teardrop, is short for regeneration. It basically heals over time, and with the more essence put into the character, which I explain later on, the faster the regen happens and the more health obtained. So if you got more essence, you're just basically healing quicker and for more. Next is probably the most important one in the game. It's called Boost or Combat Boost. This basically just means it's a red heart, as I'm showing now, that makes you deal double damage to enemies during combat. Next up, we have Protect, which is a blue shield. This stats effect is basically your characters take less damage. Most of the time, that's through Tal's, I think it's Iron Sword ability. Most of the time, it's like 70% damage mitigation, but it varies. And then finally, we have Haste, which is 2 little yellow arrows. This basically means your animations are quicker during fighting, your speed is quicker by running, and that's it really, you're just quicker at everything. Let's move on to the negative effects, or status effects. Poison. Poison is an effect that makes you take damage over time. It is cured from the Emerald Panacea and the Golden Panacea, or through other skills, other skills that cleanse it, much like Elco's Tesla Shield. Next one is Slow. Slow is the 2 purple arrows that go down. Basically, it makes you slow. It literally halves your speed pretty much, and is the opposite of the haste effect. To heal this, you have to use either Gaze of Wind to counteract it, or Sapphire Panacea, which cures slow, and the Gold Panacea. Next up is Freeze. It's similar to a stun, but it stops the target from moving. Now this effect is very rare in the game. It's not that often you see freeze effects. I think actually, I don't even know. So Elco's probably his Spirit Strike gives freeze, I believe. Basically it just means characters are frozen / stunned and they can't do anything. Curse is something that makes you more vulnerable to damage. It's the icon of a green shield that's cracked. This is cured from the Blazing Panacea. So it basically means enemies take double damage, essentially. So if you curse someone, and then you have double damage as well. You're doing quadruple damage, which is really strong. And then finally we have weaken, which means you do less damage, half damage basically. So you're doing 0.5 damage over the full amount. So basically half. And to cure this, you need the Blazing Panacea. Armor. You see combat boost. This is a scroll you get end game that makes you do double damage. It's basically Elco's nano enhancement, which gives you double damage. These do not stack, by the way. So that is what that is. So basically just acts like I've casted nano enhancement on the start of the fight. So when you play Elco, you want to pop nano enhancement. I'll show you that this is like the meta way of playing Elco. Oh, also, sometimes during combat or exploration, some enemies do not spawn. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And you see these little like floor parts here, like the little bricks on the floor, and then the bricks over there under the arch. This section here you'd know is an arena, and if you step into it, there's a chance of a fight. So that's Elco. You'll be using your weapon called Iron Fluxinator probably the most. This is the weapon you start with. So, basically, he one-shots everything. Obviously with power orbs invested into him and power being put into his stats. You'll notice in the bottom left of the corner, for weapons with charge, they take a while to charge up, again after your first shot. So I shoot 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds, right? If I was to shoot, then use a skill, so like Cybernetica, I don't want to kill all these enemies. This removes the charge of the weapon. So if I shoot, use a skill, then I can shoot again straight after, because the gun doesn't need to charge for some reason. Something to do with the game's code. You'll notice there's some skills with Elco. His skills aren't particularly that useful. They're just basically damage dealing skills. I don't have that many to show off, sadly. You got Plasmatica, which is like a long range beam.
Let's put a little lead in the air to see what falls over.
Some of them are quicker than others, so that's why I prefer Cybernetica, because it's really quick. But then you'll notice the bottom right corner here near Elcom's name, there's a little arch thing that's gold. This is your Spirit Strike bar. Spirit Strikes are very powerful strikes that can be charged up by killing enemies. So I've got a full bar at the moment, because it's orange. The full bar means I can use a 200 SSP Spirit Strike. This Spirit Strike basically means for every character, you do massive damage of AoE, which will pretty much kill everything around you. It takes a while to charge up again because you need to kill multiple enemies to charge this back up. Then you've got the 100 SSP, which offers some sort of, say, boost to the team slash, what's the word? CC, crowd control. So if I was to use his 200 SSP, keep an eye on the orange bar on the bottom right.
Libyans, I implore you, transcend even time for me.
As you see, it kills literally everything in sight. See the bar? It's going to go right back to 0. Near enough. Because I killed enemies with it, the bar fills up a bit. But if you keep an eye on the bar, I need to nano enhancement for double damage again, because your positive effects in combat has over time, so...
Hey guys, you'll miss me when I'm dead.
Can't heal Ailish at the moment. Anyway, you'll notice that my positive effects over time, like say heals or double damage, will wear off over time. I'll go over more about that in a second. Keep an eye on the bottom right, you see I'm killing enemies. I'll explain that as well in a minute. In combat, in this game, if you have a potion you can use and you press up or backwards, you can teleport a bit forward. Say 4, see that? See that? That is a bug. Well, I thought I'd mention it. So each character has their own SSP bar. Let me just heal Ailish. And heal Buki. That's Elco in a nutshell. Pretty much that's it. Ranged combat with some skills. Some of the skills offer things like Toxic Cloud, which poison enemies. Tesla Shield, which removes all your negative status effects. That'll be poison, weakness, curse, and slow. And it turns those into positive ones. So if I was slowed, I'd be given the speed one. I don't have footage of this because I rarely ever use this. But just believe me, that's how it works. Trick Shot is just another damaging ability. And you'll see here, I might as well cover up the level up section now. There are 2 pips in the top right. This is basically, I can pick what I want to select these pips to be. So if I wanted, I could take Toxic Cloud. Right, and it takes one of the pips away, and it says attained. Now I have it. Now for skills, in particular, you see how it says Trick Shot requires 80 SP, which is skills, which is a skill. SP is spirit points, or special points, whatever you want to call it. It's basically mana, essentially. The game is saying, I need 80 mana required to cast this ability. And you're probably wondering, what if I take this before I have 80 mana to cast the ability? You can't. The game will not let you pick an ability you can't cast at the current time. So I need at least 80 SP with Elco before I can take this skill. As you can see, I'll show you this real quick. You see in the bottom right there, 240 SP. If I take skill, it'll give me 50 extra XP, you see? So I need 80 to take the Trick Shot. Let me go over each one of the stats here. So health. Health is self-explanatory. Basically how much HP you have. Skill, self-explanatory, like mana. Power is basically, this is damage you do with your weapons. This isn't damage you do with your abilities. Power is weapons only. Essence. Essence is the damage your abilities will do and how long the positive effects of the abilities last. If I was to pop nano enhancement with full essence, it'll last longer than if I was to cast it with less essence. If that makes sense. This doesn't buff the damage of the buff. The buffs in this game are static in terms of the benefit. I believe anyway. I think healing might be different, but when it comes to double damage, you can't get more essence and expect it to do more damage, you know? So that's basically what that does. And obviously skills are self-explanatory. Each character has their own sort of skills. I won't be going over each one, but they're mostly just read it and you understand what they do. So, let's go over Tal now. Tal's starting weapon is the recruit sword, but we'll be using, because this is endgame stuff, I'll be using the Runic Blade. And you're probably wondering, TFGP, why are you not using Elco's endgame weapon? Why are you using his starter weapon? Because it's his best gun. Unironically, it is his best gun. Full stop. No debate over it at all. His ultimate weapon you get from totems is trash. It is bad. It's basically his starting weapon, but it does more damage. His starting pistol that shoots fast. So we'll be using a Runic Blade. Let's go over Tal's combat. Tal and Buki are really similar, but as I mentioned, combos are similar in this game. So, let's go over combat with Tal. So as obviously you see, sometimes combat encounters do not spawn, so you just need to like dip your toe back in and out like this. Okay, so Tal uses combos. As you see in the bottom left, there's a sword icon and 3 circles. If I'm to cast a perfect combo, I don't want to die. I need to heal here. I don't want to die. This would be very embarrassing. It's fine. Try like explain. I don't really want to kill enemies yet. If you watch, like, watch the bottom left. Right, you see that? There's a blue circle. You need to tap. You need to tap the key that you're going to use. In my case, this will be right click, left click, perfectly in the blue circles to execute a combo. But if I was to do it too quick like this, it'd be covered with X's, meaning I think you do less damage as well. Let me just try and even. You do less damage when you do the combo wrong, and you don't execute a combo. But if I was like, do them right, I can execute a good combo. Like this. That is basically Tal's combat in a nutshell. Third person combos. You're probably wondering like where you learn the combos, and the thing is, I think it's just you play the game and like you learn the combos you think are good. If I'll show you again real quick. I don't really care about potions because I'll load back anyway. This is Tal's best combo. Right click, left click, then keep on left clicking. It's basically AoE. If they're stacked on top of each other, you'll do damage. You can also do damage behind you. If there's an enemy behind you and you're using this, if I don't get shot every 2 seconds. Basically, when you're swinging your sword like this, enemies behind you take damage as well.
I don't have the strength to carry on.
Yeah, as you can see, 3 characters have died, right? Or 2 characters have died. You can use things called soul nectars, which revive your team. As so. Now, I'm not really paying attention much, to be honest. That's why I'm taking damage. I'm much better at this game than I'm showing. I'm just mainly focused on showing things. Pop some potions, eh? Say... See, you got these things, right? I forgot to mention this about potions. Each potion has different like stages. So, for instance, healing salve heals for 500, okay? But then you got healing elixirs, heals full, the HP to full. This is in the same realm as a healing salve, but does more. But for things like healing salves, you can carry less healing elixirs than you can healing salves. So, for instance, for healing elixirs, you can only carry 3 of them, but for healing salves, you can carry like 10, I believe. And you got the things like Star Flare Vials. Heals 200 HP to all players, right? I don't have the counterpart to that one, sadly, so I can't show that. Look, Soul Nectars provides with 1,000 HP to all PCs, right? And you got Holy Nectars that heal your entire team to full HP when they're dead. Okay? You see, each one has their own stages, like Royal Potion. Heals all HP and negative status effects, right? Then you got Miracle Potion, which only heals all SP and HP. So, this one, actually no, is this even in the same realm? Because this doesn't, yeah, this doesn't heal negative effects. So, I guess they're different. Okay, Luster Drinks. Heals 200 HP and restores 50 SP, right? Then you got Luster Brews. It heals 1000 HP and restores 250 SP. So as you progress through the game, these potions get stronger and stronger. So you'll encounter these potions more often than you would early game, obviously. You wouldn't never ever get these early game. So, yeah, potions have their own escalating stages, essentially. And then you've got, obviously, golden panaceas, which are rarer than the sapphire panaceas and stuff like that. These panaceas basically heal certain effects, so if you're slowed, you can use a sapphire panacea to cancel out the slow and makes you immune to slows for the entire combat. You can also pop this early and be immune to slows for the entire combat anyway. You can only cast these in combat, by the way. You can't cast them before. But potions you can use any time. So let's heal up Tal. Tal's... let's go over Tal's skills. Skills in this game, there's nothing special about them. They all pretty much do what you think they're going to do, right? But with different animations. Whatever they say they're going to do, they're going to do. So, Will of the Sword stuns enemies around Tal, alright? Blade Spark does damage. Geyser Charge does damage. Iron Warrior makes you take half damage. So when you, 30% less damage, sorry. Blade Dance, spin around, do damage. That's it. There's nothing special I can say about skills. I'm not going to show each one of them off because I don't have them. What else I was going to mention something, but I don't know what it was. Yes, I forgot to mention this. Let me show you real quick. So in this game, if I can get a combat, you can block. On PC, this is spacebar. Now sometimes you can't block certain attacks. Like if an ogre is to swing at you with his attack, that's not an ogre by the way, but if an ogre, the one that starts at the start of the game, the first boss, you can't block his attack. You can also dodge. If you block and then use a designated direction, like I want to dodge backwards, I'll use block and then backwards like that to dodge. Now, I've got Moonwolf now, which is a 100 SSP one, right? This is basically the grey bar in the bottom right. As you can see, it's half gold and then a full grey bar. If I use this, this will just boost my party.
I call upon the power of the wolf to aid us in our time of need.
So it boosts my team and makes them weaker, essentially. So I do double damage, they do less damage. As you can see, some enemies are immune to certain status effects. And as you know, our enemies drop certain items depending on what enemy they are. So if they're like gnats, they'll drop gnat stingers. Gnats are those little flying like insects. So let's cover Buki now. Buki is literally the exact same as I just showed with Tal, but I want to show you similar things. You know my combo I did with Tal where I was like swinging and swinging, like with my sword? Buki has a similar attack with the exact same combo as you do. So right click, left click will do the exact same as Tal did. So that's what I was talking about earlier on. Combos are very similar between Tal and Buki, and I'll show you that right now. Right click, left click. As you can see, I'm doing the exact same, essentially. As you can see, combat with Buki is literally the exact same with Tal. She has like this really OP ability called Storm Kick, Can move enemies with it as well, like this. Now, Tal has a similar one called Blade Storm, but lasts a lot shorter than Storm Kick. But as you know, combat has its slow effects, like it's slow time effects, as you see here. I gotta say, combat in this game is very fluid. And the only thing I'd say the downside is sometimes your character locks on the wrong one you want to hit. So if I want to hit an enemy here, sometimes it'll lock on the enemy next to him, and it's annoying. But for a 2004 release, the combat is very smooth. Offers a lot of gore, as you've been seeing, and it's just very fluid, I can say. Now let's try Ailish. Ailish is literally the exact same playstyle as Elco, but she offers more use for her abilities, I guess. But then again, her abilities aren't that special. I mean, you've got Gaze of the Wind, which makes your team faster. These two are damage abilities, and Witch's Kiss heals your team. As you can see, with the skills, there's different icons. So for the two sword icons, it means they're doing damage. For the blue icon, it means it's healing. And Gaze of the Wind, I don't know why it's a green shield, but it gives you haste, which means you run faster. Gaze of the Wind is very useful because it makes animations quicker. So I'll show you that real quick. Also, I've got to mention, if you tap R on your keyboard, each character has a knockback. As you see, I'm doing that right now. This is the R button. I don't care if I'm taking damage. Each character has a knockback. You see, like so. Let's go over Ailish. Gaze of the Wind. Her best ability.
Always one step ahead.
This, by the way, speed boost makes you shoot your guns faster and helps you perform combos quicker. Watch. A lot quicker, you see? That's all I can really say with Ailish. Same. She uses ranged attacks. That's it, really. So now I'm going to go over. I'll do this section separate, but that's the combat of the game. I mean, when your characters are low, they'll flash red in the bottom right, and it makes like the heartbeat noise. So it gives you an idea of like, oh no, one of my characters is going to die, and you can quickly tap Q, and then you can heal your team, as you can do like this through the menu. You see in the bottom right, it hovers over the character you can heal, like so. And also, depending on the platform, you switch between characters, which I should have mentioned at the start. For me, it's F1 and F2. F1, basically, it just moves the character. So if I was on Elco and tapped F1, it'd go to Buki. But if I was on Elco and then tapped F2, it'd then go to Tal. So it's the next character in the progression of the order, as you see. You go back, Buki's at the top, which is behind Elco, because that's how this thing is like a circle. And then if I tap F1 again, it then go to Ailish, because she's on top of the things, it's like a circle. If I go to Elco, then go to Tal, and then go to Ailish, and then go to Buki. So it's like, there's an order to it, it's not random. But yeah, that's combat really. Next we'll be talking about the exploration and environment of the game. I know this section was long, but I had to do this live commentary because it's a lot easier for me to explain it live, and the combat, honestly, in this game is really, really good and is the main focus of the game. And obviously, it's like live action, like proper going at it, like live. It's not turn-based. It's like some Japanese RPGs are turn-based. This isn't. And it was a breath of fresh air, I believe, during that time. But thank you for watching the combat section and the menuing section. I'll see you guys next in probably the best section, which is like exploration and environment. So this section we're going to be talking about the environments of Sudeki and how unique and different they are from different parts of the world. So let's start off with an absolute classic, which is New Brightwater. Now I'll leave a little 30-second clip of me walking around New Brightwater, and I'll talk a little bit about it and why this is probably the most memorable location in the entirety of Sudeki. As you can see, New Brightwater is very colourful, and from the introduction of the game, which I'll show you guys very soon about this tone change that happens, but for now we'll just focus on New Brightwater. It's very colourful, and it just has like the sounds of the seaside and that awesome music from Tom Colvin. Tom Colvin made the areas in this game with his soundtrack, without a doubt. Each single area, when you hear the song, you know what it's from. And New Brightwater has the soundtrack, which is probably the most memorable one, barring the title screen. Now, as you walk around New Brightwater, you'll notice that there is a little story that I want to share with you guys. It's about a woodcutter. And, well, what better way to actually show you or explain than to show you the footage?
No sign of those seeds? If you spot them washed ashore, remember to bring them straight to me.
So we go from the awesome bright world, or sorry, bright town of New Brightwater to Shidanimo. And the first thing you'll notice is the music is different. And I gotta say, I want to blend this section into music as well. Music in this game is what makes the locations unique and different, and it makes you more immersed. You go from, I think it's guitar picks and stuff like that, from New Brightwater and its upbeat tempo, to now bongos and some instrument, I'm not sure, I think it's like a whistle or something. I can't explain it, but you gotta listen for yourself. It is an awesome location. Oh, what orb do you want to give what character? There's no real set way. At least as long as you put some orbs in, power orbs into Elco, you should be good. Where am I going? Forgot. Forgot. Just here. I'm gonna get the council room.
Greetings, I am your lift attendant. Which level would you like to go to? Going down.
Now, before I get into what the locations hold, like blacksmithing and inns, I'm going to be talking a little bit about something that happens very early into the game. Now, you've seen quite a lot of the environments, and yes, there is tone change from one world to the other, but that's plot-wise. But at the very start of the game, there is a tone change that flips the game on its head. When you first play this game, you think it's very charming, very colourful, but then the game gives you, right at the start, a literal bombshell. And I'll show you what I mean. Hey guys, it's this live version of me now. I'm not sure where this is put in the recording, because I'm doing this as I'm playing. A review I was watching actually made a really good point, and it's a lot easier to explain this as I'm playing, as a player, about how the tone shifts. So you've got your music, they give you like this, you know, jaunty music, it's like upbeat and like happy, and obviously the game then gives you a long bridge. It's meant to, I think, symbolic of trying to, because you've just found out the princess could be in the middle of battle with the Eclorians, or like caught up in the action, as the soldier said. And you got like all these nice, like, you know, waves going. The music suddenly stops, and the game gives you a save point. So it's saying, the game's saying, oh, something's gonna happen. You know? So then, after the long walk, well, it's not that long, but it's to make you think as you're playing. You click open the gate, and it takes you to like this, you know, eerie cave section. You know, with the torches and everything. You know, collapsed tunnel to the right. You got like the cups and stuff in disarray. People are in a rush. As the, you know, the stools flipped over. You can speak to some of these guys.
Wallow and the others have already gone. Follow this tunnel down into the wilds and you should catch them.
Each one has their own dialogue. I thought I'd make this an own section of my review, because this is probably one of the fewest times that the tone shifts so drastically in comparison to the introduction.
Long live the Queen!
These all say different things, so mainly generic. But if you come down here and turn to the right, you notice if I click on the stalls, someone must have left here in a hurry. You know, it's symbolic of no one wants to be here at this point. And the game gives you no music or anything like that. And you follow the guard. Well, usually there's a guard that like runs down here. But I guess I took too long, so. Then it gives you this.
Men, the time has come to put your training to good use. I want every piece of Eclorian scum removed from the area before sundown.
Sir, yes, sir.
March to New Brightwater and make sure the road is secure. Tal, take charge of the two rookies, and we'll rendezvous in New Brightwater.
I know the game volume's low, guys. It's just, I don't want it to what's the words? Be too loud so you can't hear me, essentially. So, you know, you've got the birds chirping, the music, it's got ominous music now. The sound design in this game is immaculate in terms of music. Tom Colvin, the original creator of the Sudeki soundtrack, did a really good job on making the music an essential part of the game. You got like wondrous, like fantasy music going on. It's kind of like unsure of what's going to happen. And then when we come up here, around about up to this shadow, this big shadow here, this happens.
What the?
As for the tone shift, like I was watching a review and I did notice this as a first when I was playing myself. You have screaming in the background, as you just heard. You know, you got blood filled in like this trough, and you've also got, you know, another dead elite soldier. Now, if we go to check, it says fallen comrades and the elite guard, just a senseless waste of human life, essentially. And it's you know, things are on fire. You've got people killed in various ways, and the game doesn't do this at any other point. You know, you got like this smoke, you got like the lightning in the background, you know, the silhouettes of like the castle, or like not castle, sorry, the mansion. This is the Ailish estate. Now if it's just gone like wrong, because the light has been sucked from the world. From well, I don't really want to spoil the game for people who are interested in playing. So the light has been sucked from the world. And to make things worse, when you come through here, the two recruits will have like their own demise. They both die, and it leaves you fighting against a massive odds of enemies here. And this is why this ability is OP, or this specific combo. You can control it pretty well as well. But yeah, also for combat, I'll make combat its own section, actually. But just know, sometimes like the camera angles glitch out a bit as well, like here. But yeah, this part's about tone shift. Sorry, I'm going off base here. I'm not very like familiar with reviews or anything like that, so please take this review with a grain of salt. I'm not very good at editing or anything. Yes, you've got like, you know, this guy's stabbed up a tree. I swear I just saw a guy, yeah, this guy here has a pitchfork stabbed through him. And the game's like, you should save. You should really save. I'm not gonna say. You know.
Sometimes I wish my commanding officer was anyone but my father. He's harder on me than anyone.
You see this dialogue here? I'll just make a note. This dialogue doesn't trigger sometimes. I'm pretty sure. You get the fire going. I'm just like mentioning like how the tone changes from bright and like jaunty and happy to this.
Arlo wants the area cleared at any cost, but he hasn't seen that monster yet.
Now, you would probably think like this monster would be the next monster you encounter, but it isn't. You know, obviously this is fine to show on YouTube because we've covered this game so many times. But they even like killed a cat, which is just awful. And you got another dead person, sadly. And you got like the trader has left, ran away. And yeah, that's essentially it of like the tone change here. Like, it's really interesting. And I'll take you now back to the review. Thank you. So now, as we've talked about the environments of Sudeki and how different they are and how the music makes each section unique, something that isn't so unique in this game, because they're everywhere, are save points. These are scattered around the map. Basically, as you would expect from any save point in any game, you can save a game, and you can only have a certain amount. I believe it's only 30 maybe, I'm not sure, I can't remember the cap. But yeah, you just save the game like this. These are scattered around the world, and this is how you'll be saving the game because there is no autosave function in this game. So if your game is to crash, you'd have to go back. Now I'm going to turn the music down because it's kind of hard for me to commentate over music or sounds. I like to hear my own voice. Anyway, next we got the Blacksmith. Every single major city has a blacksmith. These offer a range of different buffs and different abilities, basically. So, for instance, for armor, you have anti-venom, which is to obviously make you immune to venom. Anti-evil makes you immune to weaken. Hexproof makes you immune to slows. Damage shield, this basically means, I'm not sure the percentage, but when an enemy hits you, they take damage. I have to turn myself down a bit there. Obviously, inflicts 20% of received damage upon the attacker. Okay. Combat regen. Now these ones, combat regen, combat boost, combat fortify, are all items you get from bosses. Now I won't be going over what bosses because that'll be spoiling the game. But basically, when you unlock them, you can use them. Combat regen heals the user for the first minute of combat. Combat boost, same thing, but does double damage. Combat fortify, basically for the first minute of combat, you take less damage. Next up, we have the weapons, that have Razor Edge, which I've explained before, increases your damage of your weapon. Heartseeker gives you extra critical chance. Bat Fang makes you heal. Spirit Bite makes you heal your SP on attack. Mana Spark removes beneficial status effects. So if an enemy was to be speed or has haste, and you hit them with Mana Spark, you have a 25% chance of getting rid of it. So this is best used on weapons that can rapid fire, so you can apply it more often. And that is it really. Oh no, wait. I forgot to mention, you see the circle runes at the bottom of the screen here, and the square runes. You see how the symbols are similar? So for the sword, it's just like a pointy sword, and then underneath it is a jagged sword. That's because that is a better version of the enchantment. So for instance, for this one, Razor Edge gives me +2 on this weapon. Chronotron. Hang on. It's probably best for you use something like Tau. Yeah, Recruit Sword, Razor Edge, +5. But if I was to use it on, say, a weapon that has a slot, like a circle slot, there's Jagged Edge that gives you +10. So these are the same for each and every single rune you get given. There is a good version and a bad version, barring the armor. The armors don't have a better or worse version of those. So, for instance, Jagged Edge, Tier 1, let's call it Tier 1 rune, gives you +5, and then the Tier 2 rune gives you +10. Something I'd like to note is you'll notice there's these called weaken slots. And these are all weaken and say slow. These are runes you can't apply to your weapons at any point. These are predetermined effects that are given when you pick up the weapon. So that's it really about the blacksmith. Let's move on to the inn. Now, you can treat the inn as more of a resting point, where you heal your companions throughout the game. Each major location has one, and is a cheap way of healing your entire team instead of using potions. So we go to this young chap here, go to Carry Rest here, and they'll charge you 25 florins. Now you want to make advantage of this because these florins that's really cheap for full healing the entire team. I'll go ahead and do it. Obviously my team's full HP. It takes 25 florins, and you walk down the stairs in some locations, and it says fully rested. There's one instance where this is free, and that is in the Shadow World with Hexam. But I won't be covering that because it is essentially just the same thing, but for free. One thing I'd like to note is that it's better to use inns more often as you can, because using potions are more expensive. Like a potion is obviously going to cost more than 25 florins, and using a bunch of potions to heal your entire team can be very costly if you decide to buy them. However, inns in this game don't offer that much use, considering there is a flood of item drops from healing potions to SP potions. Sometimes you don't even need to use them because of how many potions you have. Next up, let's talk about shops. So, shops in this game come in a not a variety of forms, but the one most prevalent shop you'll find is Kemu's shop. Now, you'll find other traders in the world that specialize in specific items that give you more money. So for instance, if I were to speak to Kamo,
Come in.
I have a small shopping list. You see how his items are expensive. 180, 345, and this is like permanent across all Kamo's shops. But if you were to sell things like the Weird Lord gem, this is only 260 a Kamo. If you go to another shop, which I'll try and find a recording of, if I can't, just take my word for it. Shops that specialize in gems will offer you a better price for this gem than Kamo does. Kamo offers you a bad price regardless. One thing Kamo has that other shops do not have, which I have already bought, are weapons. You see these two here? Neuron Blunderbuss, Mephisticus. These weapons are only obtainable from Kamo. That is the only unique thing about Kamo's shop, is that you can buy these weapons. To be fair, these weapons are pretty bad besides two of them. But yeah, you can just go here, buy it, and that's it. You can sell things at the shop, like I said, but you can also sell potions. Now I believe you can't sell potions to any shop other than Kamo's.
What?
So that's it about shops now. I mean, it's pretty simple. If a character comes up to you and says they like skins or like fur, they'll offer you a better price for skins and fur than other traders. Same with gems.
Leave it out, I'm on the job. I'd leave it a minute if I were you, mate. Leave it out, I'm on the job.
In Sudeki, there's a variety of chests in this game. First up, we have the totem chests. We'll go over what they do soon. Then we have the flooring chests, or items that offer currency. You have weapon chests, like the one here, with Mojo. And then we have orb chests, and we'll go over orbs very shortly. But you're probably wondering what the totems are for. You basically turn these totems into these statues here, and they offer you special rewards, like orbs. There are various orbs in this game that offer you a way of retroactively raising your character's stats. Now what are they? First we have Orb of Might, which increases your max SP by 20, which is your mana by the way. Orb of Power, which increases your power by 10, which is the damage you do with guns and weapons. You have Orb of Vigor, which raises your HP by 100. Orb of Wisdom, which raises your essence by 10. And Orb of Sanctuary, which increases your HP by 250. In Sudeki, you get given quests from various NPCs, as you just saw. Picked one up from that red lady there. These are essentially quests where you basically get tasked on picking up an item from somewhere and then bringing it back. That's the extent of the side quests in this game. Nothing really groundbreaking, and it's probably the downfall of Sudeki is the side quests. You do offer some background lore on the character, but that's about it. The main quests can be followed through with the little yellow arrow in the top left corner there, as you see above the map. Follow the arrow, it'll take you to the main quest, essentially. But as you see, I'm breaking crates here, just to pick up the items for the quests. As you see here, it says quest updated. If you return these quests, you get XP and rewards, and they vary from like Omnium to Eden Corals, as I just got there, potions. Nothing really like, oh my god. Some rewards are better than others, like as you see I just got a wolf totem from this guy. which is very, very good and is needed for another quest, which is collecting all 4 totems for the character. This guy gave me a crab crystal, which isn't very good. It's just, you just sell it really, there's no real value outside of that. And then this guy, what's he give me again? Oh, he gives me a bright wall pearl, which can be used for another quest. That's it, essentially. So Sudeki boasts that it has over 300 NPCs to speak to. As you just saw, the demo disc, this is from Xbox Magazine 32 with the Sudeki demo, which I have covered on my channel too. This little trailer plays, or the trailer just played, and it boasts as over 300 NPCs to speak to. Now, personally, I'm not much of a person who likes talking to everyone, which is why I'm doing a doing a story run where I speak to every NPC at every interaction I possibly can during different stages of the game to talk to them and see what happens. It's a nice touch, and it's good that they put this much effort into getting the voice actors for it and to actually build the world. It's not very, like, it's not something that is like super awesome or anything, but it's very nice from the developers to go in depth with each of the NPCs you see in the world. Some play more prevalent roles than others, and some are just there just for flavour. So this marks the end of the review, guys. And a long one as well. I didn't expect it to be this long, to be honest. So I'll just be giving my closing thoughts on the game and if you should buy it or not. So, let's go over combat, as we've already done. Combat is very good for a game that's 20+ years old. Offers various ways to play as well, with how you want to spec your character. Whether that be from assigning different skills each time, or going for a specific weapon, or, you know, the runes themselves from the Blacksmith. You can try different things. You don't have to follow the meta stuff with Elco. The combat's pretty good and engaging. You know, it's also very gory and is very impactful as well, which I should have mentioned before. When you hit things, you feel like you are hitting them pretty hard. That is mainly because the combos are really, really fun as well. The art style holds up really, really well. The game is almost timeless in its art style. The only thing this game needs is a resolution upgrade or upscale to the character models, facial expressions, and the like. The actual world environment is still as gorgeous as it was 20 years ago, and it's a very memorable game for that, and the music from Tom Colvin is what makes this experience great as well. If you've played this game before, you obviously know from your childhood, or maybe from the past few years you've played it, that the music is what is probably the main staple of the game, to be honest, as well as its charm in terms of art style. So I recommend, guys, this game is on Steam, GOG, and it's on Xbox Original. The emulator doesn't work very well with the Xbox Original. The emulator is called Xemu, and normally you could like dump your game onto PC using a file transfer protocol thing and getting the virtual disk to play on Xemu, but it is broken at the moment. From what I last remember anyway, it could have been fixed by now, but I'm not sure. But the best way to play it, without a doubt, is through Steam. One thing I have not mentioned, because this is a PC review of the game, is that some Xbox original differences present in the Xbox, like some differences are present in the Xbox than the PC. That one example is probably the snow in, or like the fog, sorry, in Transcentia. So I'd like to say, guys, thank you for watching this review. It's my first ever one, and I'm not even sure if it's good or not, to be honest. I don't look at anyone else's reviews and like be like, oh, I'll use that as like a base ground. I was just winging it halfway, like, not halfway through, but through the entire thing, essentially. But if you guys have any fond memories of the game, please pop them down in the comments. If you guys have any fun things about the game that you know that other people haven't, let me know in the comments as well. If there's also anything you would have added in the review that I didn't, also let me know. And if you guys are interested, I have an entire catalogue of videos, as I mentioned at the start, on this game, from challenge runs to no damage runs to the 100% speed run. There's quite a lot on my channel that you will probably enjoy if you like this review. This game still remains my favourite game of all time, even though it's not like amazing in comparison to all the other games that are great. You know, like Baldur's Gate 3, Witcher 3, Fallout New Vegas. Like, those games are insanely good and are better than Sudeki, but this still remains my favourite game of all time due to nostalgia and childhood fun, honestly. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.